Dave?
We're live. I didn't know we were live. So Barstool Casting Couch, Paul Pabst has joined us. Did I pronounce that right? Like the beer, right?
Yeah.
And what I like is your PR agency or some type of people were contacting me, and I was ignoring them, saying, we can get you on the Dan Patrick set. We can get you to meet Paul Pabst. We can do all this stuff. And I rarely get to do this, but I big time and said, we can contact Paul Pabst ourselves. And that's exactly what we've done.
Right.
And we have him on the RV, so thanks for coming. How does this compare to the Dan Patrick set?
Very similar. I mean, just the views are different. Like you have the views of like a port and some guys that look like they're down on their luck. I think it's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
But you know what? There wasn't a big demand for this area, so I think you probably got it at a good price.
We did. It sounded like 2 seconds ago we were getting threatened to get kicked out of here if we didn't pay.
That's been happening all week, but yes, we're traveling around and we can't stay in one place for too long. We get, no town can have us for too long.
Is there a way that you could describe the smells of this room to your viewers?
It actually smells very nice. Right
Actually,
now. Like it's not bad.
I thought it smelled like puke over where Yev is.
Puke and socks.
Yeah, I actually
socks is
thought
a big
something-
smell.
Did somebody take?
I smell my own socks all the time.
Did somebody take a shit in here or do something illegal in the last 2 hours?
I think Hank was
Something
here by himself for a while, so he could have taken a shit. There was a shit taken here.
When you guys were rolling through Oklahoma, I was contacting Big Cat, and I was asking the deuce situation. Do you wait till you get to the hotel? What's this? You're the boss.
I sort of have to take a shit right now. I have not, and I'm not just making that up. I said that before
yeah,
you
he's
came
had
up.
to take a shit
My
the whole
stomach, my stomach's been acting up weird. I don't know. See, these guys, so Caleb and Hank lived on this thing for 4 months. I have no idea what the bathroom situation is.
I think the rule is you're not allowed to take a shit on here, but I think Caleb, you did every now and then.
Oh, I took many a poop on here.
So, Paulie, you're obviously Dan Patrick Show, which people, if they are not watching, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life, right? The Dan Patrick Show is got a kind of similar vibe to what we do here, except you have actual money, guests, nice set, good technology, an actual TV station that people can watch it
Other
on.
than that, you
where
cannot
should I
tell the
stop?
difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
should I stop anywhere? Yeah, so...
Go ahead.
No,
sorry.
you go. You
No,
go.
You
No, you go.
You go. You go.
So, tell us first, best part of doing the Dan Patrick Show, worst part about doing the Dan Patrick Show. Because it's one of those like things where most people look at it and they're like, hey, he's got a dream job.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who complains about what we do, I'd like to kick in the balls. I hate when you go over and like sports writers are complaining about, oh, the food's bad. Or,
Yeah.
Like when we were in Dallas a couple years ago at the Super Bowl, people were like, oh, it's 11 degrees and you're complaining. And I saw different sports radio shows out there all bundled up in jackets complaining about a free chip.
That was a famous Schefter. Remember that tweet?
And the Boston media did it when we played a Super Bowl. I think it was in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
It was nonstop.
Nothing to do
complaints.
here,
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. But the best part of working for the Dan Patrick Show now is that Dan's, I think, different than he was at ESPN. I think he's got the shackles off a little bit, and he can kind of do what he wants. And, we're moving.
We're moving.
And
First
for
ever moving.
That every time we do something, we make history.
Right.
This is the first moving casting couch in the
Give me a
history of
second.
Barstool.
Yep.
It's an interview, or is it now transitioned into kidnapping now that we're moving?
It's the
That's a
casting
fair
couch
question.
gets weird. The casting
Although
couch gets
you
weird.
came in here on your own volition,
That's true.
so I think that would stand up in a court of law.
All right, so worst part about doing the show.
Worst part about doing the show, well, out here getting up at 3:20 in the morning, that's ungodly.
I gave you a solution to that, and you didn't take it up.
Tell them your solution because it's
My solution was you stay up all night. You basically go to sleep at 7 p.m. You go to sleep immediately after the show. You wake up at 7 p.m. You stay up all night. You can document all being up all night.
Right.
Live on the other side of the world, then do the show, and then go right back to bed.
Yeah, this is a little something that the Dan Patrick Show may want to pick up, but we're instituting in our new office, and we've kind of instituted here. Hank gets nervous, but a gumball machine full of Adderall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
If you guys want to take that idea, if
had to
Dan
run it
Patrick wants to take that idea, he's more than welcome.
Yeah,
to.
this today's show brought to you by Adderall.
Right,
Would be
exactly.
Great sponsorship
Right.
opportunity.
Whoa,
Right.
whoa! I thought we just crashed.
All right,
Sorry.
so the biggest thing we need to talk about. You had today. What's today's date?
Can I have this question?
Oh
before we
yeah,
do
go
that?
for it. Go for it.
So Dan Patrick's your boss. I'm the boss of all these people.
Right.
Do you pretend like Patrick, or do you really like him? Like sometimes I feel like my employees just say they like me when they really deep down don't. But
How would
they're
you know-
afraid to say.
How do you know when they're lying to you?
I feel like I can judge people fairly well, but if you like walk out and walk back in, they don't know you're coming in. You hear them like kind of gossiping and
Well,
shaking their head. Like,
We
oh.
talk shit about you, Dave.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes I feel like it's more vile when I'm not around.
Oh, for sure is.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm asking. I'm
Yeah.
asking a nice way. Do you really like Dan Patrick or not?
Yeah, and all
This is
serious.
off the record, by the way.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
Slash
we're
on
Okay,
the
yeah,
record.
off the record. Off the record.
Cool, dude. Yeah. No,
I feel like he wouldn't care if you like. I really don't care if my people like
Well,
me.
first
I'm
of
just
all,
curious.
he likes you guys. He likes the idea of
Really?
being. Yeah, he does. No, I'm not. No bullshit. He likes people who don't
So why
follow
do
the
we
rules.
ask him to get on?
He. I'll try.
Yeah.
No, the cool thing about Dan is that like he'll be hosting the Super Bowl and giving out the trophy, and 3 minutes later he'll be cup checking you in the nuts and saying, "Let's go get a beer." So he's a little bit of everything. Yeah, he's a big time sports personality, but off the air, I don't think he acts like it. I mean, I don't have that much experience with like Jim Nantz and Bob Costas. I've never worked for them. I don't know what they're like off the air, but Dan's cool. I mean, if he was here, he'd be 2 beers deep.
What? How'd you like meet him? How'd that come about?
I was working at ESPN Radio at the time, and he needed a new producer, and I was working on College Game Day, radio and TV. And
We're banned from College Game Day. Side note, they rip up our signs.
You
Drives
probably
me
had something
nuts.
to do with that.
Yeah, you guys are barred. I actually have seen a list of what's barred, the actual security list. Dan Patrick Show heads are barred because we guys were doing Dan Patrick Show heads, and I've seen the list with my own eyes. You guys are barred.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
We're well aware of it.
Confirmed.
They have little. How do you like your bar stool?
Yep.
They have that on the picture so they know the representative bar.
bullshit.
That's hilarious.
And I've seen the security list, and but I met Dan. He said, "Would you be interested in producing my show?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll think about it." But at the time, and I've said this on the air, I go, "Dan, I've heard you're tough to deal with," because Dan had a reputation
At ESPN, he
at
did.
ESPN.
Right.
Yeah.
Him and Olbermann.
Oberman, yeah, who I didn't know that well, but Dan's reputation was, I think, given to him or to others by people who didn't care for Dan that much, and it wasn't right. And we went out and had about 12 beers at this place called the Seven Seas in Milford, Connecticut, and next thing you know, the next day, I was like, let's do this. And we've been together pretty much ever since.
He definitely, without knowing him, I don't know him at all. I think he's go what he does. He has that kind of Shooter McGavin. He'll put a cigarette out in your eyeball vibe to him.
Yeah.
But you need that as the boss. You need
Yeah.
that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like Dave could do that to Hank at any moment.
I really think, there's times he wants to do stuff like what you guys do, what other websites do, what other cutting-edge people do, but he also knows he works for a major corporation.
Right.
Sure.
So he knows, like, I can go there, but I can't go all the way there. I can't go blue. I can't use the F word on air out of hand. But, like, he'll walk up to you in the middle of a segment and, like I said, crack you in the balls and laugh at it, and if it gets on camera, he doesn't care.
What is there a hierarchy between you and the Danettes? Like, does Dan like one of the Danettes more than the others? Is there a little competitiveness? Is there? I mean, come on.
I would say, yeah. I would say you always want to please the big man. No matter
Right.
where you work, you want to please the big
Right.
man.
That's how it is here. These guys are like little rats trying to
Keep you
impress the big old cat.
Yeah, I mean, this booking should do it. This booking by Cats.
Yeah, there
this
we
should
go.
Really put
Boom.
you over the top.
Done.
But you want to keep Dan happy. It's he's the big man. But I think by this point, if we're not secure in our jobs and we get worried if Dan says, "Hey, you had a bad day today," all right, shake it off. We'll get it tomorrow.
He does pick on Fritzy a lot, though.
He does.
Like he does kind of when Fritzy is our Hank.
Right.
When things go wrong, Dan's like, I'm gonna yell at him.
By the way, I saw Hank and Feidelberg in Newport this summer. You got to rein those fuckers in.
Well, I heard you say that they was
Pardon
like
my language.
No, you're allowed to say
he
whatever
was
you
like
want.
the belle of the ball and shit. That shit drives me nuts because that's just them living the life off my brain.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't think they appreciate like that.
They don't.
Oh,
I-
this is
I
a
can
good
confirm.
question.
Yeah.
No, this is a good question. So does Dan pretend that he's made you, and without him, you'd have no life or existence,
that's
and
Pat.
basically he owns you, your family, your kids, your house? Does he do that? Because that's what our boss does.
I'm not an expert on passive-aggressive questions, but that sounds like it was going here and not here.
Well, but you
I don't know.
No, not at all.
Just to clarify, a differential here. You were in the business, and he had to woo you over. Where some of my guys, this guy Hank, for example, the options of what Hank was going to do is either he'd be sitting on this bus with celebrities and having girls think he's good looking, or
Right.
he was going to be ripping tickets at the Museum of
taking
Science.
pictures of paper mache
Again,
dinosaurs.
I'm
So.
a journalist, and I can tell you what I saw in Newport this summer, and Hank was getting Feidelberg spillover like nobody's business.
It's
Ooh.
an absolute tribute to me,
Yeah.
I
mean,
love it.
you're one of the great wingmen in New England history.
without even trying.
Yeah.
God damn it. Get off this bus.
Get to the what.
All right. Well, yeah, JJ Watt. Today he said he was on your show today.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the date is. February 4th.
I've lost
5th.
track.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
Super Bowl is the
Doesn't
2nd,
matter.
no idea.
And I don't even know when this is going to air, so whatever. He said the word hardo.
Hard on?
Hardo. He said people call him a hardo. That's a word that Dave invented.
I invented
which
that
makes us believe that he actually does read all the criticism we've thrown his way the last year. You know me. I went to University of Wisconsin. I should theoretically like J.J. Watt. I don't. I hate his guts.
But do you hate his image or do you hate him? Do you hate what you see of him like on Instagram?
Well, I think
that's him, right?
That's
He's
him.
the
I
one
think that's
putting
him.
that shit out there.
Right. I don't think there's one in the. I think they're one and the same at this point.
Well, I think, I don't know him that well. I've hung out with him a couple times with Dan and the guys, and he is a pretty funny guy. I don't think
I
he's
refuse to believe.
That's
Well,
a lie.
I refuse to believe.
Lies.
defensive end funny. Oh, but like he's the kind of guy I think, and I really mean this in all seriousness. I think he wants to be kind of a superhero, like an American superhero. Like he thinks that what I'm doing for a living is inspiring children and makes people fired up. And
That's a hardo.
Yeah, and I guess, but
And a jerk. If you think you're a real life superhero, I probably don't like you.
but what if you really think you are, and you're not like trying to pretend you are?
And then
That's
it's like
worse.
one of those. Do you ever see that HBO documentary? The real life superheroes. They live in
Yeah.
San Diego.
Right.
They run around. They dress up and they try to fight crime. He should go do that instead of playing
why
the
does
NFL.
I've written this, and I feel the same exact way as Dan with Watt. But like when he wishes his great grandmother a happy birthday on Twitter, when you know his grandmother is not on Twitter,
Right.
Like, what are you? You're just shoving what a great grandson you are down my throat. Hey JJ, I don't care about your grandmother. I don't care if she's alive. I don't care if she's dead. Nobody wants to hear that. Keep that.
You don't
business.
want her dead, but you
I
don't.
don't care
No, yeah,
either
just
way.
don't care. Right.
Fine.
Maybe I do want her dead just because he's making a scene out of this.
All right, how
thing.
old are you? What are you about? 37?
38.
Okay. Do you think that we are, even though we're not that old, we're just above that line where you live everything public? I mean, you don't give a damn what you do in life as long as you could tweet it out, put it on Instagram. And that's not an excuse because you still know what you're doing.
Puppy
He's a big
ball.
boy. But I mean, if you're under 27 years old now, you don't do anything. You don't take a dump without Instagram.
No, it's
yeah,
true.
Well, yeah, but you don't. it's not just him. I hate people.
My
who do that
hotel's
in
like
general.
right here. This is really great.
Yeah, there you go.
It's people in general, and we're different. Like a lot of what we do is because we're in this business. We got to generate followers. Like we're scratching, clawing, eating people's brains out just to get people on this bus. So we got to do that. JJ Watt, there's just no need for it to wish your grandmother a happy birthday on Twitter. I hate it.
You know what I would like to see him do though? I would like to see him make fun of himself.
Yes.
And like, what if he, did the next picture? He's walking grandma to the thing, and a hot girl runs by, and he just forearm shivers grandma and cuts to the girl.
Exactly.
I think I would, and I've never talked to him about this, but we had a good conversation on the air today about people who dislike him because of the way he lives his life in such a, Captain America pose at all times.
Everything feels so calculated with him.
Yes,
Even like
right.
when he did that dig at Andy Dalton on Monday Night Football,
Right.
he had clearly been practicing that joke in the camera
The red
all
rifle.
week. And it's like, JJ, just be a fucking normal person for once. I want to see you drink a beer, go out, have a good time, make fun of yourself, and stop trying to make everything this like top 10 moment where you're doing the Dougie with the kids at the local YMCA and you're telling everyone how you're Captain America and you're taking pictures and selfies and blasting Zach Mettenberger a year later. I'm sick of it.
How long do you think?
Hold on, I gotta soak that in. That's like a Bob Costas special comment.
It's been building for a long time. I consider myself one of the first true people to the
He's
JJ
mad
Watt
at me. He
hate.
thinks I was late to the hate.
You
Watt
were,
game.
you were.
How long do you think Watt took to write his latest tweet when he said, "Got a lot of nurses asking to check out my injured groin"?
Like, did he run it by people?
No, he just thought it was the
just
funniest
like,
thing.
it's not as funny
And
as
by
saying.
the way, I am now going to incorporate the way you use it. If I think like Clay Travis is defensive end funny,
Yeah.
if that's what
Clay Travis is book writer funny.
yeah,
Right.
no. Well, he said
Yeah.
he said that JJ Watt defensive end funny, which means just
Not
not
funny.
funny.
But
at all.
I, but I do agree, like what we said before. If he went off with like Funny or Die and did a video where he just poked fun of himself, you ever see that Ralph Macchio video
Can you,
where he said,
just-
Can
I
you
don't-
say
I
Barstool
mean, would it
Sports
have
not
killed
funny
you
or die?
Just to be like, if
We're
you
gonna
made a
bleep that
Barstool
out.
with like,
We're gonna bleep out the
I mean,
funny or die.
No, but what I'm
thing.
saying
right
is-
in our
Why do you got to
face.
do that plug?
Right in
in
our
our
fucking
face.
face.
Right in our eyeball.
Jesus,
ballsy. That's a ballsy.
God damn it!
That
All
was
right, wait.
unbelievable.
I want to get a couple more
Take
real.
out a white
Yeah.
glove and
Do you want
slap
me?
us in the
Should I
wanna
just
get-
jump out?
I want to get a couple more real questions. So let's get off JJ Watt.
I'll put a
because I
bar
could-
tab down for you
I
guys.
could literally say I might kidnap you and just like you need to say JJ Watt.
That would
sucks.
actually be a funny bit.
Yeah.
Kidnapping
Yeah.
Pauly Pabst.
Yeah, just being
for
like you're
real,
never
for the
getting
whole
off
week.
until you say
And that
you
funny
hate
bit
JJ
feels
Watt.
like it's happening because we're past my hotel, and now we're on to a different area.
Getting
of
a
the
little
city.
nervous and getting where's my phone? All right, best guest you've ever had on the Dan Patrick Show.
Man, best guest. Clint Eastwood was.
Ooh.
When Clint Eastwood called in, I picked up the phone. I said, Dan Patrick Show, is Paul, a little producer. He goes, yeah. Can I talk to Dan? I almost shat myself, man. And awesome. I mean, Clint Eastwood, we didn't have him in studio, but that would have been cool. The other one was, and I don't know if you guys like these guys or not. We once had Bo Schembechler and Bob Knight on together, and Dan just laid out and let them tell. Yeah, Schembechler and Knight told stories about each other for 20 minutes. We blew through 2 commercial breaks, which you don't do in network radio, and Dan just goes, "Let these guys go." And it was afterwards. Bob Knight, who didn't like ESPN at the time, picked up the phone because we surprised him with Bo Schembechler, and he picked the phone. He goes, Paul, that was one of the coolest things I've ever had anyone do for me. He goes, I love Schembechler. Thanks. And I don't know what people think of Knight, but I like Schembechler. Schembechler to me looks like what a coach should look like. The bike shorts.
Yep.
The
so how long ago was this?
This was 2001. 2002 maybe.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I like Bob Knight because he's such a crotchety old guy who doesn't give a shit about anything.
Right.
So he's gonna let it fly. He'd swear on live TV.
That's a guy. If you could get him on this bus, that would be badass.
I'd say
he
have
would.
a better
I'll
chance
tell you
against
what.
God.
I'll tell you what. Bob Knight would take a shit on this bus in a
Oh my
second.
God.
He would dominate this
would,
bus.
Oh, Bob Knight would probably take 2 shits. He'd take a shit and then he'd do the show. Then he'd do another one.
That'd be awesome.
And he wouldn't care.
Let me know if that happens because I'd like to hang out with you.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a scene. All right.
I don't let anyone shit in this bus. I let Bob Knight
worst
shit
guess.
in 2
I have to
seconds.
ask.
He's not gonna say it.
No, I will.
Who did
Sure,
the,
well,
who
I'm
did
not
the
scared.
Qualcomm thing?
Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey did
calls
that
in.
thing. Yeah.
Now, here's the setup with Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey's about a year into the pros, and they do media tours. And what media tours are is when the athlete's plugging something, which is what Super Bowl
right.
is
Yep.
completely about.
Sure.
Every guest we've had, except for Justin Tuck this week, was sponsored by somebody. And so they give Matt Harvey the thing. He's on his way to the doctor. They give him a sheet. Call these 20 numbers, do these 20 interviews, and mention Qualcomm and go to Qualcomm.com. That's what you have to do at the end of the interview. It's standard procedure in sports radio. And he gets on the phone. He's walking. He's doing the interview whilst walking. And he Dan asked one question about his arm. He goes, I'm not really here to talk about my arm. The guy's like 2 weeks away from getting Tommy John. What else is there to talk about?
Right.
And, Bartolo Colon. And so Dan goes, well, what do you want to talk about? He goes, well, I'm really here to honor Qualcomm, which Dan, I thought, was going to have aneurysm. And he looks at us, and you could see, because we're on TV now. In the radio days, you could do things and no one would know. He's like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, I don't know. And Harvey just went off the rails. He's like, I'm not here to talk about anything but Qualcomm, and hung up the phone. And the PR guys for Matt Harvey, the people who set this up, are actually really good dudes who've been doing this a long time. They were on the phone with me 3 minutes after going, we don't know what the hell just happened, but we're going to talk to him. And as a producer, I'm like, hey, this is great, man. I just had the best segment in the world.
Right.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't give a damn.
Sure,
I remember.
Implosion is not. There's nothing better than
Everyone picked it up.
Implosion on National Sports Radio.
Yep.
And so I said, they're like, what can we do to fix this? And we're going to apologize to Dan. I'm like, don't apologize to Dan. Have Matt Harvey call in tomorrow.
Right.
And fix this.
Did he?
He did. And it was better. But even Matt Harvey was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. I was on the way to the doctor. I've got to get surgery. And Dan goes, great. Now we're going to talk about your arm. Okay. And Dan, Dan's not the biggest tough guy of all time, but
He's a
National
pretty big
Sports
tough
He
Radio.
asks questions that are
He's a
hard.
tough
He
guy.
asks hard.
You got to remember the
questions.
setting he's in. Again, he's not doing what you guys do and what other people do, but he will ask some tough questions. We've had times where people have tried to run questions by us in advance, and he says, no fucking way. Barry Bonds. One time we were going to have Barry Bonds on. This is 03, and 3 minutes before the interview starts, by the way, he's looking at his phone. That's such bullshit.
He's
Total. Remember that scene where Johnny Drama?
We have that every
Is there a
time.
thing
We
down?
have that
Yeah,
every time.
We're
have that every
lucky to
time.
have people holding cameras. We're lucky. We do not have the most well-trained
No.
staff.
That's
in
some of
the
my biggest
history of
pet peeve.
staff.
Nothing,
We
no
haven't.
offense.
No.
If you'd watch, it's every single video we do.
Offense.
Offense.
Yeah.
Offense.
It's
Offense.
Yeah, you are.
Offense.
Offense.
Wait, Barry Bonds.
So Barry Bonds, his PR people, right before it's going to come on, and this is 2003. We're in the heat of it. He's doing some promotion for I don't know what, and his PR person goes, "No questions about performance-enhancing drugs in any way." And Dan's like, "No. We have no ground rules. We don't accept ground rules ever." On an
Same
interview."
with us.
Do you ever though accept ground rules and just don't adhere to them?
No, because that's bullshit. Because then you're bait and
That's kinda
switching
my-
someone.
that's
Yeah,
kinda
that's,
Oh, that's
you're-
actually what
you're
we
based
do.
on.
Yeah, that's actually exactly
well,
what
we're
we
not
do.
based on bait and switch.
But we do that.
But if all right, Adriana Lima has claimed she's going to come on the RV. I'll believe it when I see it. But we can't ask about her personal life. Whether
that's
she
the
hooked up
worst.
with Bieber. Well, guess what? We're going to ask if you hooked up with Bieber because we're never going to have you on this bus again ever.
Right.
So hopefully she doesn't
Yeah,
see
right.
this.
We've had a
early.
few where people said hey, only one question about this, and Dan's like, tell them we're going to touch it, but we're not going to make the whole thing about it. But sometimes he'll say that hey, we may never have this guy on again. Like we do a thing right now on the show where I've been doing an Andrew Luck imitation, and people are like, dude, you're never going to get Andrew Luck on the show again. I'm like, you know what? That's possible. But so we're going to get Andrew
What's
Luck.
your Andrew? Can you do your Andrew Luck impersonation?
Ask me a question, any type of Andrew Luck.
Do you think that people overlook the fact you've thrown 9,000
overlooking
interceptions per
people
year.
is what happens, and it's just you just got to drop it in the
Yeah.
back. Barstool Sports is not really my cup of tea. I went to Stanford. So it's kind of more of a Beavis and Butthead.
That's not a good that wasn't good.
That
It's
was,
not
you
supposed
know
to-
what?
That wasn't good.
No.
Paul, you know what? That was defensive end good.
Yeah,
That was defensive end good stuff. That was.
By the way, we've sneaky had two of the biggest insults he's delivered, and he's a friend of the program.
Right.
But he called me a bait and switch guy, which is like.
Don't you like that about me? That I actually said it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whether
It's super insulting. I don't agree with it, but I appreciate you.
No,
candor. And when you
But
said,
you brought up the bait and switch thing. How you would tell
we
someone.
do it though.
I shouldn't have said you're
we
based
will.
on that.
We never get like guests.
Yeah, that's true. If we got guests, we'd bait and
Well,
switch.
you
them,
told
but
me
you
I was
can't
coming
accuse
by
us
just
of
to
that.
hang out and check out the RV, and
Oh,
next
I
thing
didn't
you know,
say that.
Oh yeah, I bait and switched them.
He bait and
Yeah,
switched.
Oh,
Well,
I
all right.
bait and switch. Yeah.
you're
All right,
the guy.
so we are bait and switch guys. I mean, we just never have the opportunity to
I
bait
didn't
and
know
switch
that
people.
was the pretense you were
How many
coming on.
pictures can you have? I haven't done any facial recognition. I mean, I haven't done almost any.
Hank is actually.
Well,
2016,
you're saying
trying to
he's
be
not doing
photographer.
anything. He's trying to look busy. There's probably no film in
I like
that
your
freaking
stand-up.
camera.
Wait, who do you think is a bigger? We actually had this discussion today. Who do you think's a bigger dick, Barry Bonds or Jeff Kent?
I have only dealt with Kent once. Barry Bonds has done some things to us and on the show that I could barely even repeat.
Will Clark too. He was a dick too.
Will the
wasn't
thrill.
he?
We had okay. I'll tell you a story you'll never hear. The producer right before me on the Dan Patrick Show at spring training, Barry Bonds agrees to come on. I'm guessing this is 2000, 2001, Scottsdale Stadium. Barry Bonds comes over to the set. We couldn't believe he came over. I wasn't working on the show at the time, but I was at ESPN Radio. And there was a producer, I can't remember his name, who was producing the show. And when you're on the road, you give the guy the headset with the little mouthpiece. And one of the producer's job is to make sure the mouthpiece is right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so the producer goes, and Barry pulls his thing down. He was playing on his phone, talking to someone, getting ready for the interview. He didn't even make eye contact with Dan or Dibble. Rob Dibble was the host at the time. And
Are you a Dibble guy?
I love Dibble.
Dibble's
Been
a
on his
maniac.
show
You
a
would
few
love
times.
him.
No, I do like Dibble.
He's a true maniac, and I
Sorry
mean
to
that
cut
as
you
a
off, but I
compliment.
like Dibble.
He's a stoolie. Dibble's a stoolie.
No, I know he is.
He's a great. I've got some Dibble stories. Holy shit.
I bet he's nasty boy.
So Barry Bonds goes. He goes, yeah. And 3 times the producer asked him to move his mic back to where it is so he could do the interview. They're 30 seconds from air. And Barry Bonds, after the 3rd time he asked, he turns, pulls the thing off, and looks at him and whispers, he goes, "Hey, Holmes, slavery days are over."
Yes.
By the way,
Barry.
I
story.
think he's such a
That's
jerk
awesome.
that I love him.
Yeah.
Like, in a weird way.
Yeah.
You go so far over the line of
Right.
being an absolute
Like a dude
asshole.
asking-
It's like
yeah.
you gotta
Right,
like
don't
this
half-ass it. Don't
Right.
be kind of like,
Yes.
you're a nice
Yes.
guy, or you blow off a couple of kids. Like you stop by the kid in the wheelchair, but not the 9-year-old who could walk.
Right.
You're
That's
the one
Barry
who, like,
Bonds.
you're the one who like
Yeah.
pushes the guy over in the wheelchair. It's like you almost got to respect it. It's going so heel that I like the bad guy, the villain. He's a villain.
Can I ask some questions? Because I have questions
Yeah,
for you guys.
absolutely.
Is that cool? I want to do the
Yeah.
interview.
1000%.
Where do you, and this is a pretty obvious one, where do you see your website in 5 years? Not the tone, but the scope.
Okay, so that's why we did this deal, why we did the Chernin deal. So we sold to Chernin Digital, Peter Chernan's big swinging dick at the cracker factory, as I describe him. We want to get. So we're a Northeast brand right now, all right? For the most part. I mean, people know us nationally, but it's Northeast where we're concentrating.
I think you're underestimating your brand right now.
I love it
because
that's that's the first nice thing you've said.
I was waiting to the end. Oh, shit, he wasn't rolling.
So no, we consider ourselves a comedy brand more than a sports brand. Not everyone gets that. So we want to hopefully get involved, not only digital, but get involved in maybe radio, do some TV, and have it be a national comedy brand. We see it right now as there's a vacuum. If a kid graduates college, it's like, all right, where in a comedian writes for an alternative newspaper, whatever.
Right.
Like, where do I have to send my resume? Maybe a stand-up comedian in the late 80s sends it to Saturday Night Live. We want to be the spot that every young kind of cutting-edge kid is like, I got to apply to Barstool. That's where I want to be. We want to have our hand in a lot of different stuff. I've used the SNL analogy a lot. Like, I want to build this cast of.
Do you think you'll go away from sports, or does the sports umbrella always have to be there?
We cover what we like.
Yeah, I think
Because it's only,
sports, right.
it's probably 50% sports and 50%
Right,
other.
right.
I read it daily, so I
Right.
mean,
But I think sports is. I think more than anything, people probably see Barstool Sports and they say, "Oh, well, these guys, write intelligently about sports." No, I'm a moron for the most part when it comes about sports. But I talk the way that 90% of guys and my friends talk about
Right.
sports.
It's a hopefully a legitimate reflection if you're with your buddies, the topics you're talking about. Sometimes it's sports. If it could be Trump doing something outrageous, you're kind of making fun of it. Not too dissimilar from what you guys do. The fact that Barstool Sports has not been planned from day one.
Right.
And when we've tried to plan things, it doesn't work.
it's a natural evolution.
Correct. So Barstool Sports, I mean, people ask me, you know how we came up with the name? I had about 20 of them, and it was the first one, the domain name.
Right.
Fit. So it's like
One thing I've noticed, especially lately, when you guys had that thing where who was the guy critiquing you?
Sports Illustrated guy.
Yeah.
Who killed us or critiqued us.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what? I wouldn't say he killed you because he whiffed. What bothers me is when people are disingenuous and say like, and say that they don't talk that way when they're out with their good buddies.
Right.
And that's so disingenuous. I'm not going to go full blast here and just say everything that I ever would because I got to protect my job. But when I'm at the bar with my buddies, I don't talk the same way here. And you guys, even here, you're going to go over the top when you've got 6 beers in you at 12 o'clock.
Sure.
And I think when people critique a site like Barstool, unless you're just a complete goody two-shoes, which some people are, I think you're being disingenuous and not realizing there is a market for it.
Exactly.
And the other thing I see with you guys, and I can see you guys, remember, I don't know what websites, but a couple different places try to do a nightly or a weekly knockoff of Sports Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not telling you anything you probably haven't thought of, but I could see you guys doing a half-an-hour TV show.
Well, we kind of do that, like with our daily rundown.
Yeah, the rundown.
I mean, that's what a combo of whether it be PTI and Talk Soup and, Chelsea Handler. That's really sort of what it is. And obviously with Freedom, it's weird. For some reason, our site, one of the things I think we run into, which I still don't fully grasp, there's a lot of people who do what we do now.
Right.
Not when we started, but we get held, I feel like, to a higher standard out of a lot of people who do the same things. It's like if we say the same joke,
Right.
suddenly we're like these criminals, these maniacs.
I think that would be like Howard Stern being a shock jock in the 80s, and everyone follows him. And when some shock jock in Cleveland does something like, look, he's a Howard Stern type, and you get blamed for inspiring them.
Yeah, it's true. And it
I went deep there.
Yeah,
it
that
did.
was
and,
deep.
and,
it's-
I almost
it's
made
true.
out with you because I fucking love the analogy, to be honest. Fucking loved it.
Stealing it.
But the energy just went out.
Did
after
you have
that
any
one.
other questions?
No, I guess Katz leaving Chicago. I was concerned because he's branded in Chicago. I mean, he's known. Like I grew up in the South Side of Chicago. I watched WGN. I've seen him on there and stuff like that. How concerned are you that this guy's going to get homesick?
Homesick? I think he will get homesick. I know he's going to complain about New York a lot. There's going to be a lot of talk
You
down.
are too.
Yep, I will
You
too.
are
I'm
too.
running into the same
We
thing.
both are gonna be
It's
complaining
closer
about New York.
proximity for me for Boston. But it's not something anybody wants to do. I almost flip it when we're trying to hire like our CEO or like new people. Like, listen, you know what you're getting into because we have a guy in Chicago who loves the city and doesn't want to move.
Yeah.
You have myself in Boston who loves the city, don't want to move. We believe so strongly in the opportunity and what we're trying to do. We're passing this all up to move to New York because we think it's better for the show. We think it's better content. So I think we'll still be plugged in with the cities, but overall, like this week for us together,
Yeah.
the content's 1,000 times better.
Yeah,
Everyone's saying it.
Yeah, because you're in different places. The same thing with us. Like when sometimes we do radio and people are in 2 different places, they'll do like a thing called an ISDN line, and you're stumbling all over each other. And
Right.
you got to be face to face to play out the other guy.
So that was the
same thing.
concept, and then we want more guests, and like even though we don't get a ton, the Super Bowl aspect of so many more people to grab and the media tours, and we'll Dan will bait and switch them and get in the office.
But just this. We can't do this right now as currently set up. We can't have you on Skype. It would be awkward and we would all be cutting each other off. This, just right now, what we're doing, we want to be able to do and more of it, and that's in New York. I didn't give up my Cubs tickets, which is I'm probably going to eat a lot of money, but that's my boss is a millionaire, so I'll just have to ask for
certainly
some
was
money.
a concern. There's no doubt that is not something we didn't think deeply about.
One thing I'm concerned about is that now I want my street cred here. I've known him for a while now, probably about 2 years. So you know what's going to happen to you guys, and I know you know it's coming. Now that you guys got this big deal and you're in New York, you're going to watch, and some traditional media types are going to all of a sudden start being friendly to you.
I hope
so. But you know what? It's going to be, you're going to smell it when it's false.
Oh,
You know
it's
what I mean?
all going to be false.
Because I even worried about that. I'm like, I'm coming over now to do something on their RV. I'm like, you're jumping on now that they got it.
No. I mean, we didn't have the RV.
No,
And
we
my
don't-
my,
no,
my
and-
brain is so big that I can smell that shit out a mile.
it's
And
obvious.
anyone who thinks that's wrong, because like you said, we've known each other for a
Right,
few
and I've
years
known,
now.
and
right.
I've known, and you've worn the shirt. We've
hung out a couple
very,
times.
Listen, I freaked out on Gronkowski because we couldn't get him on the bus earlier, and he's been a fan forever, and it's like a real dagger
Because he's doing sponsorship stuff now,
And he's
right?
getting bigger.
Right.
And it's like, but dude, we were the only people who fucking knew who you were in the beginning. You were doing everything. Now that it's like you're huge, you won't. That stuff drives me a little crazy.
Get used to it.
But you know
Yeah.
what? We want the traditional media to start paying attention and start, getting closer to us, because that's when we bait and switch them.
Yes.
That's when we trap those motherfuckers. I'm telling you.
But you know what? I mean, funny's funny. I don't
Exactly.
try to. I don't. If you laugh at something, that means you don't have a problem with it. Don't laugh at it and then go, I really don't think those guys should be doing that, because I can tell you so many times I've looked at something that's really technically inappropriate, but I laughed, and then I said, like, oh, I'm not going to show this to my 7-year-old, but I don't have to.
Right.
And it's like an R. I mean, if you go to an R-rated movie, you're not. It's great. Like people act like we're XXX or something. It's an R-rated movie at times. Sometimes PG. Sometimes G.
You're gonna, what's gonna happen next is some people are gonna want to do like you guys do the stunts and everything, where you do like sit-ins and stuff like that. You're gonna find that someone's gonna want to do it with you. Someone big is gonna.
That would be
contact you
awesome.
guys.
Awesome.
Who's
did
your-
you just? Did
who's
you
your-
just say that
You
you
volunteer?
You volunteered.
I'm not big enough.
How-
Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
you know?
I will. In all seriousness, I will ask Dan if he would do something with me.
Yeah.
Because Dan has a sense of humor and he loves funny.
I did
But-
a sit-in at Twitter just like 2 days ago.
How'd
I
that go?
tried to get it verified. It didn't go well.
Oh, you know what? That was a question I wanted to ask you. You were the last Danette to get verified. What was that? That must have hurt.
No, in all seriousness, hopefully I don't sound like some douche here, but this guy who works for us says, I know someone at Twitter who can get you verified. I'm like, okay. And I didn't.
We've heard that a
was
billion times,
That was the
yeah,
entire
yeah.
conversation. He goes, all you got to do is fill out some paperwork. I'm like, no, I'm not going to fill out any paperwork to do it. If he wants to put a check by my name, that's fine. But I would be such a douche if I said, oh, I'm going to fill out this paperwork.
I filled it out in the lobby.
you did it right. But you were trying to do a bit. I was
Yeah,
just some
yeah.
guy in an office. I was like, you know what? I don't think anyone's doing a spoof Paul Pabst account. There's nothing that would be weaker in media than doing a spoof account of me, man. I mean, the only thing I use my Twitter for is telling people at the end of good basketball games and football games.
Which, that is honestly, I love it. I'm like jealous every time you do it because you and I share like a love for the offbeat sports.
Yeah.
I love
1AA
action.
football.
You love 1AA football,
Yeah.
Division III stuff. We got to go to now that I'm going to be in New York. We got to go to a game in Connecticut, a Division III game or a 1AA game.
Nice Sacred Heart
Yeah.
versus Army
Yep,
game.
we're gonna do.
That-
yes, we're
that
gonna do
is-
it.
That
Yep.
is how messed up our company is, though. That is how you get street cred. When Big Cat's like, no, he's a big Maction guy. Like,
That's how ingratiated I do.
That's how you vouch for somebody.
Yeah.
He
No,
likes Mac
Paul-
football.
Paul gets everyone ready
Yeah.
for the end of games when it's snug.
If there's a 1AA FCS Red Zone channel, I'm the host.
Yes.
I'm locked in.
Yes,
I'm
I
locked
mean
in.
I think they should play all those sports in the off seasons. Like they should play 1AA football in the spring when I need football.
Yeah.
That's my idea. I need Maction. I need a MAC championship leading into the Super Bowl.
So have a college football division, a conference that only plays from March and April.
Yes.
You know, it's funny from
Genius.
a TV standpoint, it's genius.
Yes. Absolutely.
They've tried all the football leagues with weird, just football year round,
Yeah.
basically.
All right. I think that's everything. Caleb, do you have anything else?
Paul, it was great. It was great.
Kayla, you crushed
today.
it, man. I mean, I'm telling you, it reminds me of a young Rob Dibble, the way you worked all those questions in, got out, and didn't try to do too much. Less is more is a big thing in the media, and you crushed it.
Well, credit to Dave because he hired me.
Awesome.
Yep. He owns
And I
Caleb's
like to
brand.
I like to keep most of the airtime for myself if I can.
That was it. Thanks for coming, man.
Anytime.
Thanks.
Smells good in here.